Well, hello, friends. To my old friends, thank you for coming back. My name is Allie. I'm the Grove Witch, but I used to go under the name of Crystal Allie. I started a channel back in 2015, and I also sold crystals on my Etsy shop. So for those of you that have been following me since 2015 under the name Crystal Allie, thank you for your continued love and support. And if you are new here, thank you for popping by, and I hope you will stay for a while. So yes, I have notes here with me because it's been a few years since I did this. I have now rebranded under the name Grove Witch, and I chose the name Grove Witch because I feel that it encompasses everything that I stand for and where I have come to in my personal spiritual growth journey and my path with witchcraft. So a grove, if you may not know, is defined as a natural occurring circle of trees, basically, or shrubs, kind of, I guess, smaller trees. They could be oak or ash or thorn, hawthorn trees that just, naturally occur in the woods. And the Druids held a lot of their sacred ceremonies and rituals in these spaces because they saw them as sacred spaces. And they're also well known that the fair folk, the gentle folk, the fae, whatever you like to call them, are often found in these sacred spaces. So I identify as a green witch slash hedge witch, and I am also a druid priestess. So for me, the Grove Witch just, encompassed everything that has to do with druidry and green witchcraft. So I also have been called by my patron deity, Pan, to be a voice for the trees and a friend of nature spirits and the fae, and to teach people how to communicate with them and to live in harmony with Mother Nature once again. But today I want to talk about my top 10 tips if you also happen to be a witch in the closet like myself. So let me just make sure that I'm covering everything here that I wanted to cover. Also bear with me because I may or may not figure out how to edit videos, and I have limited time to be able to do these, so I might just post them raw and as is without any editing, so bear with me. But I wanted to share these tips because for most of my practice, my spiritual journey really began in 2015. And my daughter and I have a grown daughter. I'm not going to say my exact age, but in 2015, we were here where we are now, actually, in my parents' home until 2017 when she graduated from high school, and we left on a crazy adventure, and that's another story for another day. But I really wanted to post these tips to help other witches in the closet because it's near and dear to my heart, and I totally understand. I was very frustrated for many years. My parents are born again Christian, and my father is, my mother is, and then she remarried, and my stepfather also is. So I have been surrounded and indoctrinated and forced into that my entire life, and so I definitely had anger and grudge about having to keep what I believe, what my daughter and I both believe, in the closet, so to speak, and to keep it quiet. But I've come a long way since then, and I've learned to release that anger, and depending on your situation, it just is what it is. Perhaps you have roommates that are a different religion than you, and perhaps anything that sounds spiritual or witchcraft might scare them a little bit, or just to keep out of the drama, to keep the peace. If you are still at the whatever age you are, if you are living with your parents and they're like mine and they have different beliefs, and you have to keep quiet, you have to do what you have to do. Even at the age we're at now, in 2023, well, actually the end of 2022, my daughter and I moved back in here again with my parents because my mother's health was failing. And sadly, 7 months later, in July of 2023, she passed. However, for the past almost 2 years now, we're still living here with my stepfather, who is still very religious. And literally, currently, as I'm recording this video, he is at church, which is the only reason I'm able to record this video right now. I have to wait till he's at work or at church, so on. So just a little background so you can understand you know, where I'm coming from, and even as an adult, I still have to be mindful. I have to be very demure, very mindful of my practices because, you know, the mortgage is in his name, and even though we are paying rent and bills here and we are adults, technically he could throw us out if he found out I was up to, you know, whatever him and my mother think is evil and of the devil. So this is why I wanted to make this video, and I hope that it helps. And please feel free, if you have other tips that have worked for you, I would love it if you comment that down below. Also, please like, share, subscribe, consider joining, all that BS and blah 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 that they tell you to do. I would really appreciate it. I plan on making many more videos on green witchcraft tips, working with deities, divination, tarot, runes, how to talk to the trees, the different types of fae, and more. So, all right, my number one tip for any witches in the closet, I think it's kind of an easy one, which I wanted to start with this one, is holidays. Like, I mean, we all know the Christians stole from the pagans and made their own holidays, and it's virtually the same thing, Easter, Christmas. So if you want to celebrate Yule, but your family celebrates maybe Hanukkah or Christmas, one of the things I think you could do is make a Yule log. Most people, and I know from personal experience, I've done all of these things that I'm going to talk about here today, and my parents had no clue. If they're not following Wicca or witchcraft or paganism or, you know, esoteric occult practices, they're not going to know what the hell a Yule log is. So, you know, you find yourself a log, and you can look up, there's all kinds of great tutorials, you know, to make these things. Sorry, I also have two cats, which you may see in the video, who is now on my fairy altar where I really don't want him to be currently. But you could take a log and you carve out 3 holes in the top and set little tea lights in. Or if you can't like have the ability to, you could literally just take a glue gun and stick your candles on top, or like melt the wax or something and put them on. You decorate it with some pine or some like garland, even some moss, some pine cones, some holly berries, anything, you know, for the season, some ribbons. You can get these things at craft stores, at the dollar store. Most everything I get, admittedly, is from Amazon. But better yet, even if you can find most of your stuff out in nature, especially if you want to connect with, you know, nature deities and nature spirits. I'm gonna have to get my cat Cinnamon. Did you have to go right now? Okay. Oh, jeez, man. Great, now I have to figure out how to edit that out because he damn near killed us both. Okay. Yes, so go into the forest and, you know, find yourself a nice log, find some sticks, some pine cones, some, you know, whatever you can use, and make your Yule log and just put it on a dresser. I'm going to show you some of my little crafts and altars here in a second. And there you go. And you can celebrate Yule. You can say like a affirmation or meditation or spell, basically, when you light your candles like alone in your room, but your parents or roommates or whoever would have no idea that you're celebrating Yule. You're just decorating for Christmas or for Hanukkah or whatever, you know, fairy lights, candles, all these types of things you can actually incorporate. Oh, here he comes. See, he's fine. Even if you heard that squeak, I accidentally might have stepped on his toe a little bit, but he's okay. Hi. Hi, little stinker. He gets very hyper and likes to play at the exact wrong times. So that's Cinnamon. So yeah, same thing with like Easter. Eggs are a huge one. Eggs, bunnies. These were for Ostara and Beltane. These were, you know, symbols of fertility and rebirth in spring. And hi, cuter pooter. Hi. You want to be in the video? On your cuter pooter? So you can color and decorate eggs and just, you know, oh, I'm just feeling like a kid again. I just want to decorate eggs for Easter, you know? they're not going to know about that either. I have some sticks that I found in the woods. They're stings, you know, the sticks that have the fork like this are called a sting. They represent the horned god, or the male aspect, the male deity. And I have them decorated with ribbons, and for me that's like, you know, the Beltane maypole. But I have it here in my house. My parents didn't have a clue what the frig it was. They just think I'm doing pretty arts and crafts. The same thing with my fairy altar, and like I said, I'll show you, you know, you can decorate for holidays and do arts and crafts, and most of them can be you know, I don't want to say pawned off, what's the word I'm looking for? Presented as, oh, I'm just decorating for the holiday, and you know, somebody who is Christian or a different belief than you may not have a clue at all what you're doing. Same thing with like a simmer pot. If you want to make a simmer pot for Samhain, Halloween, or Christmas, Yule, and just put in things like cinnamon, oranges, cloves, things that represent protection, prosperity, abundance. You can make a simmer pot, or some dried herbs or dried flowers in like a little pot, like make yourself a little potpourri that symbolizes these things with these intentions that you want to bring in prosperity or protection, or you know, whatever it is. And again, it just smells and looks like you're doing something for the holiday. So many things like this that you could do to celebrate a holiday, which you're actually celebrating a Sabbath, but they have no idea. They think you're just celebrating for their holiday. Okay, so number 2, speaking of herbs and things like that, herb satchels. Little tiny, again, I got them on Amazon, little tiny velvet pouches or organza pouches. You know, you were talking, you could get like 10 or 20 of them in a pack for $6 or something. And you take these little tiny satchels and you can write a little tiny spell or intention, like I cast away all fear and negativity away from me by the power of 3 times 3, so mote it be. That's it. There you go. A simple tiny little spell. Write it on the piece of paper. Put things in there that banish negativity or bring calm to your mind and release anxiety. Like I might put lavender, which calms your mind and releases anxiety. I might put pepper, black pepper, which can banish negativity, or white salt, either one. White salt is cleansing, protecting, sea salt. Rosemary is protecting and cleansing. If you have little tiny, you could get little tiny crystal chips. I have a lot of those. You could get something like a black tourmaline or black obsidian to put in there. Cloves are protecting. You know, whatever your intention is, throw it all in your little herb satchel, tie it up, carry it in your pocket, stick it under your pillow. Ain't nobody ever gonna know. They're not gonna know you have a satchel in your pillow that's helping release anxiety and protect you at night, or that you're carrying a little herb satchel in your pocket. Same thing like crystals. If you like crystals, little tumbles or little palm stones, rose quartz, bumblebee jasper, flower agate, moss agate, clear quartz, amethyst, tiger's eye, there's a good protection one, rose quartz, self-love, and just carry them in your pocket. Again, nobody's ever going to see them, nobody's ever going to know. These are just tiny little things that I have done that you could do. Also along this line, keychains. I've also made the little teeny tiny pouches and put it on a keychain and put it on my key ring. You can get little crystals or make little charms. I've bought like fairy charms or little keys. Keys represent Hecate, and I have made little keychains out of them. And again, nobody knows if you have a little like antique looking key on your key ring that you're using it to symbolize Hecate. They're not going to have a clue. So, okay, so it leads me to the next one is eggshells, because we were talking about eggs with Beltane or Ostara. Eggshells are super great for protection. So whether you're using them on a holiday or just using them any day to make an omelet or have some eggs, save your eggshells. Clean them off real good, dry them out on a paper towel, wherever. You can just leave them in your bedroom if you have to. If anybody's asking you, why are you saving eggshells? You know, save them wherever you can to dry them, and then crush them up. You can stick them in a Ziploc bag and pound them with your hand if you have to, if you don't have like a rolling pin or something. Crush them up, I mix them with sea salt a lot because you put the two together and that's even more cleansing protection. And so you can have eggshells and or with sea salt, and then you get it real fine, and you can sprinkle it in the door, in your windowsills, along your doorway. You can sprinkle it very lightly around your house. It's not going to hurt your animals or anything. If you do it light enough, no one in your house or apartment is even going to see it. If you're nervous about that they might see it, then stick to only your own room and do it, you know, along the line of your closet, your door, any doors, your windows, for protection. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say for that one, because I have another craft, but I'll show you that later when I'm showing you the other stuff. So another one I like that's very easy, if you like tea or coffee, which I do, stir your tea or your coffee with intention. If you want to bring something in, stir it clockwise. So just get your tea or your coffee in the morning. You don't have to have a twig. This is just to show you, but you can have a stir or spoon or whatever. And just say, I bring in wealth and prosperity to me today. I bring in wealth and prosperity to me today. Whatever it is, health, love, and stir it clockwise. If you want to banish something, go counterclockwise, or Wittershins, I think is, hope I'm saying that right, is counterclockwise. Anyways, you know, again, I release all fear and negativity, or I banish away any negativity away from me in a counterclockwise. And again, if you want to, you could sprinkle a little cinnamon in your tea, or some cloves if you like how it tastes, to bring in some good luck or some prosperity, something like that. Or maybe you like rose hips. Rose hips actually don't taste like rose. They're really sweet. It's one of my favorite teas. It's a very fruity type of flavor, but it is along the line of the same properties as rose. It's very anti-inflammatory. It brings in self-love, emotional healing. It can attract love to you if you're, you know, wishing to find a partner, things like that. So you can also be mindful and use intention with the type of tea that you're actually drinking. And here's another tip. If you want to try tasseomancy, I hope I'm saying that correctly, tea leaf reading or coffee grind reading, there's another way nobody's really going to know what you're doing. If you want to use, you know, loose leaf tea, you have to get like the right kind to leave the grinds in your cup. Loose leaf tea or really finely ground coffee, and then, you know, sip your whatever, and then dump it upside down on your saucer. I should have brought the saucer for visual aid. And then sit there and practice in your room looking at the tea leaves or the grinds that are left. They're not going to know. They think you're just drinking your morning cup of tea or coffee. So stir with intention, or try some tasseomancy. And there's another tip that nobody's really going to know what you're doing if you don't want them to. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to say the numbers I was on. I think that was number 4. I believe this is number 5 of my top 10 witchy tips for witches in the closet. Number 5 is runes and sigils. Sigils. I always say sigils. Sigils. If you can't actually have runes, which I love runes, you can always make them yourself too. But you can draw them. Get some peppermint oil, frankincense oil, rosemary oil, whatever kind of oils you may like. Always be mindful of pets and animals, because certain ones can be toxic to them. I have learned that over the years. Please be mindful also if you're saging or using Palo Santo or things like this, can also be toxic to your pets. So please read up on that before you are burning incense or saging or using essential oils and things like that. Frankincense is the one I use the most because, believe it or not, whether it's an oil or an incense, frankincense is one that is actually safe for your cats and dogs and is not toxic to them. So I use frankincense oil, and I just take my finger and I will draw symbols, sigils, runes of protection on my closet doors, my bedroom door, my windows, and I have done it in the house I'm currently in, on our 2 front door, back door, around some of the windows. My parents had no idea because it's invisible. You just take a little bit and draw. I like to draw LGs, if I'm saying that right, the rune of the elk. It's for protection. There's another bind rune for protection I like to draw. You can simply draw a pentagram, anything that means protection to you, you can literally just draw wherever you want with some frankincense oil and nobody will even know. If you cannot tolerate essential oils or don't want the smell or you're afraid it will leave marks, salt water. Salt water is another huge witchy tip. That actually goes into my number 6 tip, but you can dip your finger in sea salt water and draw these sigils as well. And same thing. And all you have to do when doing any of these things is just to have the intent in your mind of what you want to do. I'm using this to protect. I'm using this to cleanse. I'm using this to clear out whatever. I'm using this to bring in, you know, health or wealth. Have that intent in mind while you're doing it. Another easy tip there. So number 6 is you could spray your room. If you can't spray with Florida water, I love Florida water. It does have quite a bit of a strong smell though because it has alcohol. So if you don't want the strong smell, or again, you know, if you have your pets or whatever and you can't use Florida water, sea salt water. Just get a spray bottle, get your filtered spring water in there, dump some sea salt in there. The better grade you can get, the better, but even if you can only do table salt, that's fine. And you can spray around the corners of your room to bless and protect and cleanse your room. You could go do it around the whole house. That's not going to hurt your animals. Nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to know. So salt water is like a huge, easy thing that you can do. I also got mini clear quartz crystal chips and put them in the bottom of my spray bottle to add even more clear crystal. Quartz will amplify anything, your other crystals, your spells, you know, whatever you're doing. So if you add clear crystal quartz with the salt water, it will just amplify that intent that you're trying to do, that you're cleansing and protecting with this salt spray, basically. Okay, so that leads into number 8, witchy tip number 8, which more salt. You can take sea salt or Epsom salts and just take a ritual bath, and nobody, whether you're in an apartment, a house, or whatever, you're just having bath time. You're just having me spa time. I need to relax. It's me time. They're not going to know because you're putting in bergamot essential salts into your bath, or lavender oil or rose oil, or you're sprinkling a little bit of rose petals or dried lavender or eucalyptus or whatever, that you're doing these things to bring, you know, to relieve anxiety, to bring in love, self-love, healing, protection. They're not going to know. You're just having a nice spa bath, man or woman. I almost said girly spa bath, but it doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter. You can have your ritual bath and put in your essential oil or your dried flowers or your dried herbs and your salts, and the whole time you're in the bath, that can be your sacred time, and hold your intention and use those things, and nobody's going to be even aware that you're doing anything other than having spa time. So that was number 8, I think I said, right? Yes, okay. So number 9 goes back to crafts and ways that you can have altars and make crafts. You know, even have altars for your deities or the fae or whatever, and most likely nobody's gonna have any idea. So here, where did I put my other? Up on my dresser. Okay, I'll get it in a second. I made what I call altar coins. I bought these wood chips on Amazon. Again, I got a whole bag of them for like, I don't know, I don't remember, honestly, $6-7. And I have a wood engraver that I bought too, which you can just sketch them in pencil, which is what I did first. And this is my symbol for Hecate. I basically made these symbols for my deity. So I ended up going back over the pencil with the wood burner and making the symbol for Hecate. For Freya, I just used the rune Fehu, which these are probably backwards, but this is my symbol for Persephone. So literally, I just engraved symbols. I have about like 30 of them because I work with like 30 different deities / beings. But my point is that on the other side, leave them blank. And if you got to, just leave them face down or like this or whatever. Nobody's going to see the symbol you drew. And if you make up your own symbol with the deity or being or angel or whatever, that's not a commonly known witchcraft symbol, all the more they're not going to know what the hell it is. So, but you can literally just have this blank side, but you know what's on the other side. So that's one craft that I have done. Let me grab the other. Here is another craft, a candle. How easy. These are clear quartz chips. So here we go. They're amplifying my intention. I have sea salt in here, under here. You can get a tea light, or I even get these friggin' LED ones off of Amazon because they're less mess and you don't have to light them. And I do have some regular candles, which I love. I always get beeswax because I can't handle the toxic candles. So I get beeswax candles, but just for real quick, or if you can't burn, you know, where you are, burn candles or whatever, highly recommend little LED lights. I just got some little crafting twine and ribbon. This is a mason jar that I think had jelly or something in it at one time. Clean the jar, decorate it, and here you go. You could put one of these in each corner of your room for protection with simply just salt and or eggshells if you want, and your clear quartz crystals, and make a little candle. And all it looks like is that you wanted to have a nice little shabby chic little pretty room or decor. Obviously, depending on your style or preference, I'm just going by mine, but you could make it gothic or modern, or you know, whatever your taste is, and you just have decorations in your room. They don't know what it's for. Okay, now let's see if I can actually reverse this camera angle. Uh-oh, what's this gonna do? Okay, maybe I cannot. That's great. Why? Well, when I started, it was gonna let me. I don't know what this thing is doing now. All right, well, I have to show you my altar to show you the other crafts. So you may just have to bear with me for a second here. Okay, so this, let me see, is a piece of driftwood. Again, I got it off of Amazon with crystals. I bought crystal chips, tumbles, I bought seashells, and all I did was take my hot glue gun and put them on. And then this glass, I got a blue mason jar behind it with seashells and crystals in it. And I don't know if you can see, the little altar coin behind the candle is actually for Poseidon. And here we go. It looks like I have a candle and a piece of driftwood with some shells because I like things beachy. But actually this part is an altar for the Undines, the water fae, and for Poseidon. And yes, I do also have my Buddha statues. You know, I have multi-purpose altars because, you know, I'm working with what I'm working with. And here we go. I have a macrame sun and moon stars. This just looks like boho decor, so, you know, nobody's gonna know. I have a calendar with a moth. It's like a nature calendar. I have my two beautiful fairy girls hanging here, and I have a light up dream catcher. All of these things, and please, if you saw below, don't look at the mess below. All of these things I consider witchy. They tie me to my elements, my elementals, my deities in some way. But I'm telling you, I've had all of these things even when my mother was still here and my father, and nobody has any friggin' idea that they just think that I like a cute, pretty room, and they have no idea that these things are witchy related to me. If you're getting a small room tour, I have my chakra, 7 chakra hanging. Again, I had this here when my mother was here, and they have no idea what that is. But again, it depends on your situation and how much the people know that you're with. Let's see, I have my tree here that I put on little beautiful little hanging crystals because the fairies like crystals, with some candles around it, and my Mother Mary. I incorporate many beliefs and religions into my practice. Oh my God, that was my cat's food can. Don't worry about that. Okay, so this is a craft I made that you could also make. This here. This was a twig wreath I literally bought from Amazon. I got the moss from Amazon. It comes in a box. This is a sun catcher kit I bought from Amazon. This is a string of tiny LED lights. The switch is back here that I have just strung around, and then yes, I have it twisted with a twist tie. If you have a better idea, you can. But it's just two little batteries, LED, and I put the moss on the twigs and some dried flowers, and I made the sun catcher in the middle and put the LED lights around it. And this is for the fae. This is my fairy wreath, which, if you can see, goes above my fairy altar. And all of this, these pictures, oh, also, if you can see, what am I trying to do here? I'm so sorry. Wait, hold on, I'm trying to show you this. This is a little fairy house. This was a candle that literally just holds a tea light that, again, I took LED lights, and I put some moss inside and some little fairy furniture and some little fairy furniture in there and some LED lights. I bought the sign off of Amazon, these metal signs. This was a candle holder from my grandma, but it's an owl. I got these little fae girls. My other little house, I have made a fairy garden here. This is a soapstone bowl with some moss and some crystals and little fae. I have collected all my nomies over the years. I didn't intend for this to be a room tour video, but I just wanted to show you everything on here is all related to the fae, to nature spirits, and in my practice, oh my gosh, she won't stay still. Okay. In my practice, but my parents had no idea. They just think that I like cute things and I like fairies and I like fairy lights and I like to craft. And so, as you could see, my whole room, there's some witch bells I made right there, which you could also do if you just didn't use, you know, certain things like pentagrams or whatever, then nobody would have, you know, any idea. And then I just want to show you my very last space in my room here. This is my altar. There we go. The pentacle I just made just yesterday, again with a twig wreath from Amazon, some crafting sticks and some twine. I have my altar here, my obsidian crystal ball, my Lord and Lady statue, my Scully. This is my beloved altar to my beloved Pan. This is my dragon. So I just bought plastic clear shelves from Amazon. There's the stings I was talking about that I decorated with ribbons for Beltane. Now this part, some of this, no, I would not have, like the pentacle or the skull head or the crystal skull, depending on your situation, I wouldn't have that out. However, I've been lucky enough that this is over here and has gone completely unnoticed. So that's probably like the witchiest part of my room. But for the most part, as you can see, all my crafts and decor in my room mean something to me for my practice, but I've been able to have it here with religious parents. And oh, bear with me, I'm trying to get this thing back on the freaking stand. Okay. Sorry, Minnie, you can come back. You can come back. With no knowledge whatsoever. So I hope you liked my impromptu little room tour. Sorry for the shitty filming. Again, I'm just getting back into this, so I promise I'll learn as I go along. Number 10, finally, this got longer than I thought. I'm so sorry. Number 10, your mind. Your mind is your greatest asset, your greatest, I don't say weapon, but greatest power. And I'm going to try to link some of my favorite YouTubers below, but Ivy Corvus is one. I love her. She talks about the temple in the mind, that if you can't create an altar room or a temple space, altar space, what have you, in your room, you can do it in your mind. And I have done this, so I think this is why I wanted to share this for the number 10 top witchy tip for witches in the closet, because I've had to do it from the end of 2020. The end of 2020 to the end of 2022, my daughter and I were in a homeless shelter. That's another story for another day. It was in the height of the COVID, you know, that I don't want to say because I don't want to get flagged or anything. When many people, we were ill, struggling with health issues, could not get work. A lot of things happened all at the same time. Funny enough, this shelter happened to be a Christian women's homeless shelter. So you could not have, not only could you not have tarot decks or pentagram necklaces, you could not have candles, you could not have crystals, you could not have anything even remotely what they considered of the devil or evil. So I did go through quite a time when we first got there of existential crisis and depression, and I was like, here we go again, and I can't be free to be me, and this is ridiculous. I can't even have one thing, you know. But I found my way to people like Foolish Fish. He talks about esoteric subjects. Morg, I love him. Working Dragon Mystic, Drake, again, like I said, Ivy Corvus. There's a few, I can't think of them all, but I found my way to them because we were allowed to have phones and tablets and computers. So I just researched and read and watched videos and studied every religion and theology and occult and esoteric subject you could imagine, from Thelema to Kabbalah to Rosicrucianism, Golden Order, the Hermetic Dawn, traditional witchcraft, just everything you could imagine. And I found my way to the LBRP, Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. I now also know of the Jason Miller of the Hecataean, if I'm saying that correctly, version, if you don't like the more, because they use terms like Yod-He, Vav-He, and, you know, more Judean Christian wording, whatever, in the LBRP. But when I found Foolish Fish and I learned how to do the LBRP, that's what I did in my room every morning and every night. I did the LARP and the LBRP, and I didn't have a wand, I didn't have tools, I had my finger, and I drew my space in my room, and I drew the pentagrams with my finger. It was all here in my head. I created a temple space in my head to meet with my deities and my guides, and believe it or not, even in that situation for almost 2 years, it was just over a year and a half, I had some of my most profound experiences with many of the deities and beings that I work with now that came to me in dreams and meditation, automatic writing, journaling, and as I was doing all of these things in my mind with not one single tool whatsoever. So that's why I wanted to leave you with my last number 10 tip. If you really cannot have anything, do not despair, because you can create it all here. And of course, any being, entity, deity, angel, daemon, nature, spirit, fae, whatever you believe in, work with, practice with, can find you there. You don't need anything, and you can always go outside. One of the fastest ways to connect is to sit under a tree and do your meditation, or say a spell, or gather some things from nature with asking them for permission. Is to just go into nature. So again, if you can't do it inside your home, there's another there. We'll call that number 11. Your extra added tip is to go outside, do your ritual outside, talk to your deities outside, go connect with a tree and meet its tree spirit or its dryad guardian spirit. Try to be friends with the fae, leave them offerings, you know, things like this. And you'll be away from nobody will be seeing anything you're doing. So I hope you liked my top 10 tips. Again, sorry if that was a little bit all over the place, as I'm just getting back into this. Thank you for joining. I hope you will join me for future videos, and leave your comments below, and may the Awen be with you. Many fairy blessings.